Some of you probably noticed that I changed shirts from before. If you didn't, you better not drive home because I think it was pretty noticeable. I am super pastor. Now, for those of you who do not know, I am not that egotistical to buy myself a shirt and claim that I am super pastor. They bought it for me.
Your wife, right?
Yeah. And they wouldn't sell it to me. No, I own it. But before, when I came up here, I had the purple shirt on. You probably thought, well, that looks normal, or as normal as you think I can look. But the whole time I had this shirt on underneath. So the whole time I was still super pastor, even though you may not have realized that. That's the way with superheroes. See, they seem to have two different personalities or two different persons in one. You know, Superman and Clark Kent, Spider-Man and Peter Parker, the Green Arrow and Oliver Queen, and many more. You see, when Clark Kent is reporting the news and he has on his nerdy glasses, he's still Superman. And when he has on the red cape, he is still Clark Kent. But when he has on that red cape, he's Superman to the world. Superheroes, they are unique, and they can do things that others cannot. That's why we call them super, right? But they do things that the law can't do, especially some of the darker superheroes like Batman or the Arrow. They do things that the law, by the law, is not permitted to do. They bring justice when the law cannot. That's what superheroes do. Well, what side of ourselves are we showing to the world? Are we showing the born-again side, the side that is happy to come to church, the side that is thrilled to do stuff for others, the side of ourselves that thinks more of others than ourselves? That's not natural, so it probably doesn't happen that often. But, or do we show the other side, the fallen side, the side of Adam, the side that is greedy and jealous and filled with hate and all manner of wickedness? What side do we show to the world? Because the mere sight, often, of superheroes inspires hope in those that are in the story. When we show people our Christ-likeness, it may give them hope. When people see our Christ-likeness, they will come to us looking for answers. They came to John looking for answers. John was so Christ-like that they thought he was Christ. They thought he was the Messiah. That's how Christ-like he was. Now, nobody has ever asked me, hey, are you Jesus? They've never asked me that. Now, before I got a shave and a haircut, They may have thought that I was beginning to look like the portraits of Jesus, but that's a different subject. Now, when we show the world our Christ-likeness, they come to us with expectation. Now, they may not realize what they're doing. They may not realize that they're coming to us with expectation. But they may approach us with something going on in their life. They may just casually mention that their wife is leaving them, or their husband's cheating on them, or their son's in trouble, or their daughter's pregnant. They may share these burdens with us and not even realize that they're sharing with us. They know that they have a problem, but for some reason, they came to us with their problem. And it is because of our Christ-likeness. We showed them Jesus when they weren't even looking for Jesus. They may actually have been looking for Jesus, but they didn't know it. They didn't know that they were looking for Jesus. They didn't know that they have such a great big problem. They just thought that they had a small problem. And they may see me and they say, "Oh, that Gaines, he's got it together." They may think about it subconsciously, but, I live in the same world they live in. I'm prone to some of the same problems that they're prone to. And they may say, that Gaines, he really has it together somehow. I don't know how he does it, but he's got it together. And that may inspire confidence that sharing a problem with me, I may offer help. The truth is, I don't have it all together. I tried to keep it together before myself, and I couldn't do it. Now it's Jesus who keeps it all together for me and for you. That is our saving grace, and that is the one who helps us in our time of need. That's why we can be Christ-like. But they don't realize that when they come to us and they're broken and they're hurting and they need some help. So when they approach us, they may say, "Well, my wife is leaving me, or my husband's cheated on me, or my son got in trouble, or my daughter's pregnant." They're not asking us to fix those problems. They're not asking us to talk to their wife and have their wife fall back in love with them, or have their husband quit cheating, or get their son out of trouble, or get their daughter unpregnant. Reverse the pregnancy, not abort it, We'll make that point clear. They're not asking us to eradicate their problems. Because they know. When they share their problem with you, maybe it's pornography, or alcoholism, or promiscuous sex, or laziness. That can be a problem. When they share this problem with you, that they aren't wanting you to psychologically break it down for them and tell them the 3 steps to fix it. They're just wanting help. They're just wanting help to get through the torment and the pain that this sinful fallen world has thrust upon them. They're in a pool, a deep pool, and they're trying to swim to the top, but they can't. They can't get all the way to the top. They can't get their head above water. All they can do is hold one hand out. Now when they come to you with that torment and that pain, that's what they're doing. They're holding their hand out. And they need something. But they don't know what they need. But you do. You know what they need. Because you've got the lifesaver that will lead them to the lifeguard. Lifeguard's Jesus. You've got the lifesaver in your hand. And they can either take it or they can leave it and drown. But they're dying. They're dying, and they're dying even when bad things aren't happening to them. When their life isn't falling in around their ears, when everything is not going wrong, they're still dying. It's just far more evident when bad things happen. I watched a video this morning of a lot of the guys who were going to be in the Super Bowl. And they were talking about the Word of God and what it meant to them. And they had players from both teams on this video. And, but not everybody from both teams were in the video. That doesn't mean they're all not Christians. I doubt they are, but that doesn't mean they're not. But if you were playing in the Super Bowl today, it would easily be the biggest day of your life. Like, it would be even bigger than the day that you signed that first $20 million contract. Now that day would hold a special place in your heart, I'm sure, but even more than that, this day, the day that you played in the Super Bowl, this is huge. But those people are playing in that game who are not saved. They are still dying today. But they don't realize it. Some people will never look up until they hit the bottom. And that's unfortunate. But either way, sooner or later, they will hold that hand out, needing help. And it's up to us to throw that lifesaver out there. And a lot of times, they don't know they're drowning. And so we got to throw that lifesaver out and hope they see it and grab hold of it. So when we are Christ-like, people will come to us with expectation. They will come to us seeking answers. They will come to us for help. The way a lot of people come to superheroes. You know, Superman, he can do things that the rest of us can't do. And when you got a supervillain trying to take over the world, those things come in handy. So we seek him out. When we are Christ-like and people seek us out in expectation because of that, it's not really us that they're seeking. Because it's not really us that we're showing. It's Jesus. Right? If we were showing us, we would be showing the bad part, right? We would be showing the weaknesses. the faults, the failures, the mistakes, the problems, the sin, and the shame. Because we make mistakes. A lot of times we make them on purpose. A lot of times we even like to make them, don't we? Anger and hate. That's big ones. Because we love to be mad at somebody, don't we? We love it. And we like to talk about them, belittle them, bring them down. Well, that brings us to the second point, is that when we show people our Christ-likeness, they will hate us. You see, people in the world, all of us, have got our problems. I used to work with this guy. He was a big encouragement to me. And he used to tell me that we all got issues. They just some of them bigger than others. And you know, he's right. We all do. We all do have our problems. And they might be different. But we all got our problems. Our issues, things that hinder us, things that bring us down, whether we're saved or whether we're not. We all have problems and concerns and worries and fears and doubts. At one point we were all in that pool, drowning, with our hand out like that. And you see, when lost people are like that, when they got that one hand out, and they see that lifesaver, they can see that help from us as help for themselves, or they can view our togetherness, I said, boy, he's got it together, they might say, well, he's got it together. I sure hate him for that. I'll show him. I'll drag him down here in this miry muck where I'm at. I'll show him, how happy he can, see how happy he can be, and if he's going through the stuff that I'm going through. He doesn't know half of the stuff that I've been through. Because everybody's problems is worse than everybody else's problems, aren't they? Whatever we're going through, that's the worst that anybody has ever had it. I got a little, I don't know what you call it. But when you feel sorry for yourself because you're doing more than everybody else. Yeah, I was having a little pity party last night, because, I worked on the bulletins for 3 hours. You say, what bulletins? Exactly. Yes, exactly, yes. 3 hours, and we still don't have bulletins. But, I tell you, I went in there, I smacked that computer, I kicked that copier, nothing. And I thought, man, this is awful. Why do I have to go through this? Whoever makes them bulletins, they have to go through that same stuff that I went through. But conversely, they probably know what they're doing. And I did not. So they may not spend 3 hours on it, but it's still time consuming. Still a burden that has to be borne. The people, they're going through this torment and this pain. And they see Jesus in us. And the natural thing to do, the human part of us wants to say, oh, there's something wrong with him. The problem's not my problem, it's his problem. It's not, I shouldn't pay attention to him and see how his life can help the pain in my life. But what a lot of times the world tries to do, or what we try to do, is just tear that other person down. A lot of people do it about preachers. They might say, oh, look at so-and-so's ministry. Yeah, his church may be growing. They may see people saved over there at such and such church. They may have 10 baptisms every Sunday. Do you know the pastor? He drives an expensive car. That's worldly. They should get rid of him because he drives a worldly vehicle. Well, I would never drive a worldly vehicle. Can you afford a worldly vehicle? No. Well, then it's inconsequential whether you would drive one or not. When we show people our Christ-likeness, they will persecute us. Sooner or later. They will. It may be in a great big way, like death, or it may not be so great. It may just be a little ridicule. But whatever the case may be, whether it's big or small, it is cause to celebrate. To know that we are being ridiculed and mocked for the glory of God. Because when that lost person has their hand out for help, and we extend that lifesaver to them, they may grab a hold of it and try to pull us in. They might try to drag us to hell with them. But the lifeguard has got a hold of us. He's not going to let go. He promised that. There's nothing in heaven or on earth or under the earth that can separate us from His love. He gave everything to make us His. He chose us to be His. Not only did He choose us to be His, He chose us to proclaim Him, to share Him with those others that He has chosen, yet they don't know. We get to tell them the greatest news that they will ever hear. And they will either love us or hate us for it. You might say, well, I told somebody about Jesus and I don't think he hated me. How many times you tell him? Once? You tell them enough, they'll get tired of hearing about Jesus. They'll see you coming. And I'll say, oh, there comes Gaines, I'm getting out of here. All he does is want to talk about Jesus. Jesus, 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 Jesus. That's all he ever talks about. Do people say that about you? Well, I want to get away from old so-and-so, Roger. I want to get away from old Roger. I saw him shaking his head. They say that about him. I want to get away from old Roger. All he wants to talk about is Jesus. You should just keep Jesus to himself. Yeah. Well, when Jesus really gets a hold of you, you just can't keep Jesus to yourself. When He takes over, that's the side that we show more often. Whatever part of us that we show, that's our favorite part. Whether it's the good part or the bad part. And when Jesus takes over, when we put more and more and more Jesus in, the more Jesus comes out. Right? Your eyes, what you put into your eyes, that determines what's in your heart and mind. What we're putting in our eyes. It determines what comes out. And so, when we show people our Christ-likeness, they will seek us out for answers, and they will hate us. And when we show our Christ-likeness, we glorify our God. In Luke 3, from the beginning of the chapter right up until verse 21, it focuses on John the Baptist. It begins with the rulers of the time to give us a time frame for when he's speaking above. But then he talks about John's baptism ministry, John's message of repentance. He even gives us some details about some of the people that John shared with, and tells us some of his enemies. John knew the law, and he was concerned for Herod. Because Herod was breaking the law, whether he believed in it or not, he was breaking it. That's the problem. Is whether you believe in the law or not. If you break it, you have to pay the penalty. Regardless. And John believed, and so that's why he shared with Herod. He threw that lifesaver out, but it just made Herod mad. So he put him in jail and eventually beheaded him. But Luke turns from John the Baptist to Jesus. Just like all of a sudden. He tells us all that, and then all of a sudden he says, now when all the people were baptized, and when Jesus also had been baptized and was praying, the heavens were open. The Spirit descended upon him like a dove. Now, this is the beginning of Jesus' earthly ministry. Why does Luke cap John's ministry with Jesus, the birth of Jesus' ministry? Could there have been Jesus' ministry without John's ministry? Sure, there could have been, but God didn't choose to do it that way. Who made the prophecy in Malachi about the one who would come and make the path straight? God made those prophecies himself about the way that he was choosing to do things. Did God have to grant Zachariah and Elizabeth a baby? No. He chose to answer that prayer for them. He chose to give them a baby. He chose John to be the forerunner. And because John was faithful and obedient and humble and Christ-like. Christ showed up. Christ could have showed up without John. He didn't have to have John. But He chose to use John. Jesus don't need Gentry to proclaim the gospel. But He has chosen Gentry to proclaim the gospel. They were proclaiming it before I was born, and they'll proclaim it long after I'm gone. He don't have to use me. But He has chosen to. And He's chosen to use all of us who have been saved to hand that lifeguard out to those who are drowning. I'm going to ask them if they'll come and get a song. And maybe you're here this morning and you got your fingers just wrapped around that little lifesaver so tight that you're squishing it. You're about to blow the foam out of your lifesaver. You're just holding on to it tight. You don't want to turn loose of it because you're afraid you may not get it back, or that something might change. Something might be done differently. Well, if it ain't working, it needs to change. But maybe you're here and you feel like you're the one drowning. That you've been looking for that lifesaver. And this is the first time you've ever seen it and you want to grab hold of it. I invite you to come.